Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Whatever, Whenever, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. I am Robin.
And I'm the Mentok, the whenever of this situation.
And I'm the Whatever, and we have two special guests. My cat is meowing in the background. God damn it. Whatever.
That's the guest. That's one of our guests.
Oh, yeah, sure. Tocolo, my brother's cat. But no, for real, who's our actual special guest that we have here? Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
That's not how you do that.
Is it? Really?
No, you absolutely oh, we've got these people. You don't put us on the spot. That's crazy.
That's how we've done it before.
Allanson. That's wild. Okay. Well, maybe I'm a podcast ignorant. I don't know. I'm Andrew Allanson.
I'm Brian Allanson.
Now we're doing jazz hands because we had that prepared.
Yes.
Well, welcome both of you to the podcast. We've been discussing bringing you two on board for quite some time. I know you've had some discussions at Robin in the past, and I think it'd be good to just kind of have it an interview voiced. And I normally how we format this, it's not too formal. We just throw some questions at you, and then later on we'll just have casual discussion, see what kind of games you guys are playing, how busy you are in your normal lives, etc., etc.
Cool.
Yeah. So, what have you guys been working on lately?
We've been working on an update for our game YIIK, a postmodern RPG, which came out originally in 2019. So making a big story update has been our COVID project.
Nice. That's good. I've been beta testing it, and I like what I see. I can't really go into too much detail. Mentok has the game. I bought it for him, but I told him to wait until 1.5 comes out to play it.
So
Cool.
I'm waiting patiently.
Yes.
Probably a good idea at this point, I would say.
Yeah.
It almost like, I don't know, the way you guys are marketing it, it almost feels like a complete sequel, but not.
Well, we're calling it half a sequel. That's why it's 1.5 IV.
Yeah.
So it is like half a sequel's worth of content, and also thematically, it's kind of a sequel in some ways.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I guess just for the record, when are you planning on launching the update?
Hopefully this summer.
This summer? That sounds good.
I'll finally be well versed on this entire game, because Robin and I talk about this a lot, and he's a huge fan of your work. I guess just to kick this off, what inspired you guys to get started in game development, and how did Y2K come about? I guess briefly, I know you guys get this question a lot, so.
Well, we've been developing games since we were kids. I'm not sure what really kicked it off. It was probably a love of Ocarina of Time, if I had to pinpoint a game that kind of started us.
Yeah, we first got into it in maybe 1999. I was 9 years old. We had seen a strategy guide for Ocarina of Time that had screenshots of old Zelda games, so like Zelda 1, 2, 3, Link's Awakening. And we had no way of playing those games, but we kind of dreamed about them. So one of the things that the first game we made was a Zelda 2 remake, even though we had never played Zelda 2. It was just kind of we can get screenshots of this offline and we can kind of imagine something. And I don't think we knew about emulation at the time, or maybe it wasn't as available. I think it was a few years before emulation became accessible. And I think that's really what got us into it.
Yeah, I guess for reference, on my side, I was more of I was on the PlayStation and Sega side of things, so Nintendo was just out of my reach for many years. And I just remember looking at magazines and seeing old Zelda games and Ocarina of Time, and I'm like, I want this. And I never had that chance to really obtain that. So I get that totally. So I guess, is that Zelda 2 remake still available anywhere?
Oh, no. I mean, this was before there was places to easily back things up online. And
we probably
we were
lost
children.
it in one of our hard drive failures. We've had a couple over the years.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, we used to have to back things up on zip disks and CD-ROMs, but those are not we weren't super good at taking care of that stuff.
Yeah, the zip disk thing, like, those things never work. Like they always had a ton of storage, but every time I tried to bring one to school or whatever, it just did not work. It always failed. I don't know. Well, I mean, if that failed on you guys too, then yeah, that's the whole point, right?
I think what happened is by the time we even like found a zip disk again, we didn't even have like the zip disk reader anymore.
What the hell is a zip disk?
Yeah, we're old.
It's like a really old floppy disk.
Technology.
Okay.
It's like what you used before, like USB sticks.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like that awkward realm between floppy disks and then like USB drives.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It didn't last long.
They were cool and terrible.
It was like shoving a whole cassette tape inside your PC. It was great.
Yeah. Nice thick
You should
disc.
definitely find a YouTube video and watch someone do it. I'm sure there's like some nostalgia bait. That
I
shows you
actually
how zip
recently
disks
just
worked.
saw such a video, so
I'll probably watch it later then. Yeah. for sure.
There's a lot of huge channels with guys just like hopping into all that old tech and seeing what they can still do with it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Every once in a
lazy-
while, I'll do that on my weekend. I'll just like turn one of those videos on in the background.
Yeah, Lazy Game Reviews is a big one. He like does like all like 90s computers and stuff pretty much.
Yeah, that guy's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I haven't watched him in a while, but yeah. Ugh.
Well, I guess outside of that, you started with the Zelda 2 remake, and then it kind of blossomed all the way up to this stage. And
Yeah, there was a
What-
lot of stuff in between that. Like, you know, we just made games for fun, and then in 2012 maybe, we made a game called Two Brothers that we did on Kickstarter, and we were just finishing college. Oh well, Brian was finishing college. I was like halfway through, and we did a game on Kickstarter called Two Brothers, and from there we wound up making Y2K, and it's just been kind of a whirlwind of like life just kind of pulling us these directions. It's kind of hard to talk about it without getting really specific. It's a very
Yeah, it wasn't exactly planned, but it kind of worked out pretty well. Like, I think Y2K was the first game we ever put out online, save for maybe like 2 other like online games you can't even play anymore.
Dang.
I think Two Brothers is still available, right? You guys still have that? At least?
you can't currently get it, and if you can, it's not supposed to be up. We took it down because people complained about a lot of the bugs, because it was made in Multimedia Fusion 2, and that's like a pretty archaic piece of software, and it's not meant for a game that big. So, for like, we didn't experience a lot of the bugs because on the computer that we made it on, it didn't have that problem. But then
Right.
when we put it out there, it was much less stable than we could have ever imagined. And, you know, we tried to do like a remake of it, and we had people working on it with us, and they quit, and then people committed to it, and they jumped off board. So it's kind of become this like thing we have to get to at some point, like a looming thing over us. But now we're trying to support the last game that we put out before we go back to Two Brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you even made like a little reference to the fact that you haven't finished the Two Brothers remake in YIIK, right? Like, I don't think that's too big of a spoiler.
Yeah, it definitely references it for sure.
Yeah.
It was.
I asked because I love the style that you guys went with for Two Brothers. You know, it's nostalgia based. You can tell it's a lot of you know, references to Zelda and things like that, Pokemon, etc. But like, I just love the style of it. So I'm looking forward to see if you guys bring that kind of flair back, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it'll still be like that when we get around to rebooting it. I really liked working in like that Game Boy sort of style without like being too strict with the limitations of that system.
Yeah.
I've always been a big Game Boy fan.
Yeah, I like the like kind of art style of Game Boy games, but like I go back and like I have a Game Boy Color behind me. I can't really like play anything on it, not because I don't have like games for it. I have Pokemon Crystal for it, but like I just can't see anything on it. Like,
Oh
I don't-
yeah, it's hard
yeah.
to look at.
yeah, even when I put it under the light, I'm like, okay, so I can still see the words, but like,
Yeah, it might be
can't
time to
see them.
upgrade to a Game Boy Advance SP.
yeah, I have one of those too, actually.
I recall the late night trips where I tried to play Pokemon as the sun slowly set and I could no longer see what was going on the screen. But I tried my best.
I've been kind of
Hoping to
dealing with
catch a
that
street
recently
light.
because I've been playing WonderSwan games on a WonderSwan.
I've never had a chance to get my hands on one of those, so that's pretty
It's
cool.
really cool. It's got no backlight or anything, so it's kind of the same deal. You just got to put a strong light on it, angle it.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask with Y2K, like I see a really, I would say this like a cult classic because you guys have quite the dedicated fan base, and this is without me actually like jumping into the game yet. I'm still waiting on the new update and stuff. How has that kind of helped with the creation of the new update? Has any feedback from that fan base or anything like that been applied, or are you guys kind of just running with concepts that you wanted to implement first time around?
Well, first I would say like the feedback has been like tremendously important. It's not that we're getting like ideas from the community or anything like that, but we've been trying to fix things that people didn't like about the first go around.
Right.
While at the same time still trying to stick with like a vision that's unexpected.
Yeah, and I think just judging from like what I've seen, without saying anything incriminating, not incriminating, something
They'll send you to jail, so be careful.
Something that'll get me sued. They're at Studios lawyers outside my house. I like what I've seen. I think you guys have been doing a really good job at like listening to like the feedback you've been getting and everything, and yeah, I like it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You guys have even been putting up like I think there's 2 or a few songs that are going to be in 1.5 are now on Spotify and Bandcamp as well. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so the soundtrack is it's about as long as the original soundtrack, I think, at this point.
Jeez.
Nice.
And there's been a few tracks that I've been really excited about, so I've shared the ones that won't ruin the moments when you see them in the game. But it's so hard because I've worked with so many awesome artists making the new stuff that I just want to put everything out there. So a lot of times I'll be like, well, I can't really wait, so I'll put something on Spotify. So that's really the only reason why the tracks are up already. There's a certain amount of excitement about getting people to listen to them, and people's like desire for them to be streaming when they hear them. Like when we do like a community event in the YIIK Chord, people will ask for like a track. So it's like, well, I might as well release it now if you already care about it.
Yeah, and I totally get like the like love for like the music around the game, because even like when the game first launched and people had like kind of lukewarm view of it, they still thought the music was one of the best parts of the game. So I think that like putting even more music into this game doesn't like hurt it anymore. In fact, it just makes it even better, in my opinion, because we get more of your awesome music.
We're definitely trying to play to our strengths.
Yes, that's good.
And I support just any game dev putting their music up on like streaming platforms, etc. Considering what's happening in the market with like Nintendo and all that, where they would just take everybody's YouTube videos down and then not post the music themselves, I support it. I'm glad to see like publishers doing that, and even on an indie scale, like with you guys, I think that's a great move.
Yeah, I think if people want to listen to music, it should be available.
Yeah, like wasn't it Square Enix that just uploaded like 3,000 tracks to like their new YouTube channel dedicated solely to music or something?
I think I heard that. They must have been doing pretty good on Spotify as well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they've been releasing like an album here and there. Like I know Final Fantasy VII remakes on there. I know they have a couple Nier soundtracks. So it's just kind of been here and there. But I didn't think that they would just drop everything at once. So I haven't had time to dive into it, but that's a good move on their part. And I hope Nintendo follows suit because they're being ridiculous when it comes to like anything preserved these days. So
I've said it a lot, but Nintendo is kind of like the old man of the gaming industry. I used to say that Konami was the old man of the gaming industry, but Konami isn't really in the gaming industry anymore. Like, they pretty much just use their gaming IPs for pachinko machines these days.
Yeah, they're in the gambling industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other
and they have made more money off of that decision, by the way. So like I can't even knock all of that.
It's not,
video games are really expensive to make, so
Yeah.
It's a slightly foolish idea to make a video game, but you know, people do it because they love it, I think.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work, and it's such a saturated market. There's so many games that are released, and it's a little bit like shouting into the void, I think, for a lot of people. So you only should do it if it's something that, like, you actually care about.
Yeah, like I don't think I like actually realized just like how much like work went into games before like I met you guys. And like even then, like I had like some coding experience a little bit. Like I took like a Snow Isle course in high school where I went to like a different school for half the day and worked in Unity and C#, and like that was like when I was like, okay, games are hard. But then I met you guys and I was like, oh no, it's like actually difficult to like make games. And like even when I was making Two Siblings, the game that I launched, like most of those maps in that game like are just slightly edited presets that they had with them, which is why I put it up for free, because I was like, this is not something that I want money for, because I barely did anything aside from like make enemies and cutscenes and stuff.
I think AAA developers make video games appear to be so easy to make because they like the efficiency and the consistency that they make them at. That it's kind of easy to picture like a factory like process, but it really is a lot more like imagine making an animated film. That's probably closer to making a game than whatever you're picturing.
Yeah, like I think part of it is like when you see like a Call of Duty or a Pokemon game come out every single year, pretty much, then you're kind of just like, oh well, I guess games aren't that hard to make. But then you actually get into it and you're like, oh no, they're like more complex than I think they are.
Well, it's a craft-based skill set, like, you know, modeling and texturing and all of like the visual components are very hands-on, and like, yeah, there are tools to generate that stuff, but it is stuff that's made by individual people. Like every asset is made by an artist, and you know, games like Call of Duty and even the Pokemon games, they have a pretty substantial team. So they're solving the problem with numbers. As an indie studio, you have to solve it with, you know, an art direction and scope. Those are the only tools you have when you're a two-man team like us.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, I just noticed that there's a giant-ass spider on the wall right behind me. I'll try and ignore it.
Probably not poisonous.
Probably.
Just throw a Pokeball at it.
Or like a spinnerack.
Yeah, basically.
If you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
There's that too. Don't worry, it won't eat you. It'll just land on your face in the middle of the night or something.
You guys are the worst.
All right, before I lose my train of thought, because what we were discussing, it brought up a question that I wanted to ask you guys before. Like, as far as that game development cycle, like, I guess the part I'm most curious about is how you guys managed to get that initial like attention when you released Y2K. Like, I saw like rumblings in the indie community, and I saw posts on Reddit and things like that. How did you manage to organically like kind of grow that initial, you know, I guess burst of
I think
Attention.
going to PAX is
attention.
probably like the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, there's like a circuit that you do where you do like all the PAX conventions and you apply to GDC and you try and get into like the indie mega booth. Like there's like a sort of meta indie world that exists off of the internet, and even though like it's kind of online because it's attached to like websites and people's Twitters, it really is like a social thing, and it was really just from showing it directly to people and having like a physical presence so that when people were at an event, the game became associated with the event and they were able to report back on the progress each year that we showed it or each month. And, because you see a lot of the same people at these conventions and they spread the word. And there's a kind of known like cycle that you do that like the more popular indie games have figured out, but then there's like this indie scene that exists like just online with people who don't know that this world exists. And I think the only reason that we found it was because we saw Indie Game the movie and we saw people renting booths and promoting like Fez that way. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, so there's like a physical place you go and you show people that way. So we just like decided to buy a booth at PAX and we showed off our prototype for Y2K, and that's how we found our publisher, because publishers go around conventions and they play games, and if the games are interesting they'll make offers on them, and otherwise you're stuck just like cold emailing people, and that can be really hard to get attention because people get so many emails.
I've always been curious about like the physical aspect of those conventions, because we see a good amount of I guess game publicity from PAX, and here's a new trailer and here's a indie hands-on video, but like never really like the networking aspect, which I'm kind of clueless on like conventions. I haven't been to one yet. I'm actually thinking of going to this coming PAX. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to kind of hear that aspect of that.
Yeah, well, I guess one thing to remember is like money people are social people. So like if you think you can discount the social component to like movie making or comic book making or anything that requires you to get someone else to fund it and promote it, you probably got to just figure out where that social component exists, find where the scene
and not
is.
even just funding, and I would say even like news, like articles and stuff. It just acts as a filter because there's so much cool stuff online. No one even knows what to look at.
It's true, yeah.
I guess like the most I'm kind of like an older media, like Reddit, for example. Like I'll look on those subreddits. I know right now the most popular ones are probably just YouTube videos or TikToks, for instance. I don't know, Robin, if you can vouch for that. You're probably different than I am too.
I stay the fuck away from Reddit.
I know. I mean, lately, honestly, when I've been browsing Reddit, I just see like everybody assumes that they're not a part of the population. It's just like, oh, typical Reddit in the comments. I'm like, but you're a user.
Yeah.
How are you? Well, that's good. I mean, will you guys be at PAX this year?
I don't think so. I think our plan is to just soldier on with this update, get it out this year, and then return to the convention circuit with our next game.
Any hints towards the next game yet, or is it too early?
No, we started it before we started Y2K IV. We put a lot of time into it. But we're not going to talk about it yet. But we have it's an Unreal Engine 5 game. I can say that, I think.
Ooh.
And it's a cool project. I think it'll be unexpected. I don't think it's the follow-up people would assume we would do.
Well, that's cool to hear. I can't wait to see it. And
so what's your guys' day-to-day like as far as the game development side?
Well, we have like different things that we have to work on, so each day is different, but we basically have we usually work 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, and we usually do technical stuff before lunch, and then more artistic stuff after lunch. So if it's like making a cutscene, that usually takes up the second half of the day. If it's battle balancing, that's the first half of the day. And for the most part, like we have like a broad overview of all the stuff we have to complete, and we have an organized way we want to approach it, and then we just chip away at it, take something off the pile and make it, and then try and engage with it in the moment and give each aspect the attention it deserves, and which is something we didn't really know how to do the first time around, but we definitely have learned a lot now, having shipped 2 games.
Yeah, and seeing all the trailers and just the entire just social media approach to the new update, like it honestly has piqued my interest as like an outside person looking in. This is before Robin even spoke to me about a lot of this stuff, so yeah. I'm actually just here biding my time, waiting patiently so I can finally have like a proper discussion with Robin about it. And I guess once that's released, we'd be happy to have you guys back on to talk about like how everything goes at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yes. So, I don't think do we really have any more questions for them about development and stuff, or?
Well, we can move on to more casual chat because that's the more interesting side for me.
Yeah. So, what games have you guys been playing recently?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring,
Same.
of course.
That's my.
How much of your life has that game taken up so far?
Like 65 hours, I guess.
I think I have 58 hours now in it. I usually play like a couple hours every other day.
Is it an honest 10 out of 10 for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is?
Yeah. It's incredible game.
Yeah, we had
go ahead.
We had a discussion a few episodes ago, and he was Mentok was like, "Oh, I'm not sure if it is a 10 out of 10." Because of like just all the gaming news outlets always give anything that like is Dark Souls related like perfect scores and stuff.
Yeah, this is before
I don't think that's true. Is that true?
I mean, it's usually true. It's at least like 8, 9, 10s for like all the Dark Souls stuff, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that could just be a testament to quality, though, not like a bias towards the Dark Souls games. Yeah,
well, I didn't mean to imply it was a bias. I just mean like they're always giving them 10 out of 10. So it's like at what point is it actually a 10 out of 10?
Well, then this is an 11 out of 10.
My personal score for it, and I think that I would probably have to go back to it at some point and see how I feel. But I'm at an 8 out of 10, and that's just my personal opinion.
How much have you played?
I have beaten the game.
Okay.
But I haven't explored everything there is to explore, because I know that From Software is masterful at hiding things and people finding them like 10, 12 years later. But I've been playing these games for a long time. Like I first came on board with this stuff back when Demon's Souls came out for the PS3.
Is there a single From Software game that you would give a 10 out of 10 to?
Yes. I would give Bloodborne a 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's interesting that you think Bloodborne is better than this game.
I think for a set of reasons. I don't know. I prefer like the more tight game design as far as like how the world is based. Not to say that open world didn't have a place for this, because I do like the short caves and catacombs that you can go through and explore and things like that. But extending from that, I honestly think that Bloodborne had better boss design, in my opinion. And overall, I just like it's been a while since I played Bloodborne, so it could be totally nostalgia glasses. But I just prefer like the overall movements and weapon selection in that game as well.
Well, that's fair. I mean, Bloodborne's also a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, I also would give Bloodborne a 10 out of 10, though. So.
Fingers crossed for like a remaster or a remake of that, because I'd love to see that come to PC, so more people can have access to it.
I've never played a Souls game.
You should just jump into Elden Ring.
What?
Yeah, I would say start with Elden Ring. I think it's the most accessible.
What do you mean? What? I told you I haven't.
I know. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to be dramatic on air.
That's fair. I was like, motherfucker, like last episode of the episode before, I literally said I've never played a single Souls game. And you're like, oh yeah, that's fair. Now you're asking like, what? Like, what's wrong with me? What?
Come on, Robin. Drama gets the views. Come on.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So yeah, I just to finish off the point with Elden Ring, like there's a lot of videos I've been watching lately now that I've beaten it, where I'm just like, man, I feel like I'm not playing this game right. 'Cause I feel like everyone gets so immersed in stuff, and I'm like, I need to finish this game today. It needs to happen. So I don't know. I'm not kind of. I feel like there's just a lot of stuff to play. So before moving on to the next one, I tend to beat things and then go
I
back
feel
to
that.
them.
I'm
like,
usually playing
maybe a
like
year
at
or
least
two
one
later.
game on every system I have.
Yeah. I got the itch bundle, like the Ukraine one, where it was like $10 and has like a whole bunch of games, and it goes towards helping people in Ukraine, like Ukraine-based charities. I got that, and there's this game in it called Crossworlds, which is it's like this kind of sci-fi RPG where like it's set on like the moon of this planet, and there's like humans living on it, and you know they live in there, but like you can also spawn in as like an avatar that you create like an MMO, but it's like this is all like a single player game, but like the story is that like it's this like alien moon, and people are like investigating it, and they set up like VR, like advanced VR technology that lets you like essentially live another life as a different character that you made on another world, and people play that world like it's an MMO.
Oh, weird.
Pretty much. Yeah, and it's got this like interesting like combat system, and like they have like it's the way like seekers, or which is like what the avatars are called. They can like log out. They even have like they go blue if someone's AFK in the world, and you have like a friends list, which are like your party members that you get. It's interesting. I'm not too far into it, but I kind of like the combat how it goes, because like you have like this, it's like got like a rank system with the combat. So like you start at rank D, and then the more enemies you beat up, the more like your rank goes up, and the higher your rank is, the better loot drops from them. So like there's this quest where you need to beat up these like bovine enemies and get like steak items from them, like they're steaks, but you can only get them if you're like rank A or S. It's pretty interesting.
Holy crap! There's like 1,000 items in this bundle.
Yeah.
I mean, I support the donation to Ukraine, but who has time to play all of these?
I think the point is more of the gesture. I don't think it's to
Yeah.
actually play them. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of like an arcade. You can play them if you want, but
And I guess it just shows the dev support to the cause too.
Yeah, and I also got the bundle for racial justice and equality that happened in 2020, and I still haven't played through nearly anything in that. Like, I have Night in the Woods in that bundle, and I still haven't played Night in the Woods. I have Celeste in that bundle. I still haven't played Celeste.
if you haven't played Celeste, have you really fought racial injustice?
And Night in the Woods, I actually got to have some time with. I beat it maybe, I think like the week of release or whatever. Very interesting art style
Yeah, it has
and
really
writing
cool
involved.
I watched that Creepy Readings video on it where he talked about how much it means to him, and I was kind of like, good for you. I'm glad that you found a game that you like this much, and then I just didn't play it.
Does he normally not like games? You sound like
He's
cynical.
he's just a horror channel. He like does like
Oh, okay.
yeah, he just does like list videos on like horror stuff and like all that. He's a pretty cool dude. I've like seen him before. He even called out another creator for being a weirdo pervert behind the scenes, which took some guts. But yeah, no, he's a pretty cool dude. He just made a video one day about like Night in the Woods, and it was like this very emotional thing about how it helped him through hard times. And I was like, that's cool. I'm glad that this game was there for you during these times. I still don't. Yeah, I'm not going to play it though.
that year, I think, what was that, 2016, 2017? That was like one of those hard times for me too. So that's why I think fondly back to like Breath of the Wild and Persona 5 and all that stuff, because those games are big, and I had time to play all of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, same. Especially Persona 5 and Breath of the Wild 2, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys making the leap on Kirby next week? Or is it this week?
I will.
It's this week.
Wow.
It.
I'm gonna have to wait until I gotta beat Elden Ring before I buy any other games.
Yeah,
Same.
I think it's just everybody just releasing everything that was delayed during COVID.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm still convinced they'll push Breath of the Wild 2 to like early next year.
Hard to say.
It is hard to say, but if it does indeed come out at the end of the year, then that's like we're gonna have that, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Pokemon, and that's just Nintendo.
Yeah.
This might end up being like the best year for gaming in a really long time, to be honest.
Yeah, Mentok, I don't know if you want to be too like set in stone on something being delayed, because I don't know if you remember, but we said for sure that the Gen 9 Pokemon games were not coming until 2023, and literally the next day after we recorded, they announced that they're coming at the end of this year.
Well, it's hard to say because Nintendo's been doing this thing where they keep everything very close to their chest and then they just drop it.
Yeah.
We didn't even know about Kirby until recently.
Early
Same
this
thing
year?
with Xenoblade. They just they make these games in secrecy, and I think it's pretty wise.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked at like the size of these games too, and like, you know, because Xenoblade Chronicles, I mean, I guess Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it's been a little while. It feels like yesterday, but
I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah. My favorite is X, which is only for the Wii U.
Yeah, I haven't
but
gotten to play that.
Yeah, I think everyone's begging for a port of that because I don't know, it was Breath of the Wild beta, essentially.
Literally,
they ended up helping the Nintendo team with Breath of the Wild.
Literally,
they took a lot of that.
The only thing I know about Xenoblade Chronicles X is that people got mad because they removed the boob slider in the Western release. That's literally all I know about
now
it.
I'm mad.
Why are you taking features out of our games, Nintendo?
It's such an interesting culture war. I would have never thought, like, being a kid, imagining the future of gaming, what it would be like. I don't think I ever pictured this to be like the public conversation around
That's
games.
where it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that it started that way back in the day. Like there was like a lot of censorship and then weird localization to make it more like gritty for the West. And then we got into this like nice place where everything just released as is. And then now it's kind of like moving away from that again. Like Sony's been a little bit more strict with their store and stuff like that, and Nintendo just randomly censors things.
Yeah, I think the only place that isn't really censoring anything is Steam, pretty much.
Which they originally were censoring everything.
Yeah, originally they were, and then their
Yeah.
community got really pissed off, and then Gabe Newell made a public apology, and they stopped doing it.
It's hard because platforms like PlayStation and Nintendo and Xbox, like those are really important, big, staple brands, and there are people whose jobs are to ensure that whatever the promise they're making to their consumer is, it's upheld across all third-party software. And it changes from like marketing director to marketing director, and what each console's brand is going to be, and there's so much like behind the scenes nuance about that stuff that it's always hard to say like what what should they allow and what shouldn't they allow, and like The Last of Us 2 is a kind of a good example because there's that game's pretty explicit in a lot of ways,
Right.
and but then like certain anime stuff is not okay. But so does it have to do with like the quality or the budget, or it feels kind of arbitrary sometimes.
I think the context is very important, and that's probably what they're reviewing too.
I think
if it's
too,
like
they're afraid that something that looks like too anime might look like it's for kids, and then
right.
Yeah, that's possible. Especially in the West, like anime is seen as like a thing for teenagers.
Which is weird because most anime that I've seen is very violent.
yeah, keep your kids away from that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Steam has a great way of doing. I mean, I'm not saying that kids can't get around this, but like with having your birthday tied to your account, like they'll show you certain games like in the new field, like everything will pass through there if you're over a certain age. But and then you can also filter that out if you care about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation side, the PlayStation 5 is super easy to just buy a game if your credit card is tied to it. So I think I'm not sure. I haven't checked the parental stuff because I'm not a parent yet. But from what I see, like it's very easy for a kid to just go to the store and buy anything if your credit card is tied to it. So on one end, it's like convenient for anyone to buy things, but on the other, I can see how it could be a liability to have like certain games involved.
I think that ultimately, what even is a video game is so potentially broad that coming up with any clear guidelines, it seems pretty difficult. It just seems like something like an unwinnable battle.
Right.
I mean, because there's like something like Yandere Simulator. I'm sure it would be very popular if it was released on consoles and stuff, but it's like, along with what the game is, there's also like the whole like meme of the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
all that gets considered.
We know some people who got kicked off Steam even
Yeah.
Really?
for their content.
Really?
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
What was the
Was
name
it
of
you
the
must
game?
be 18 to enter or something like that?
Yes.
That was the name of the game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't think I've heard of that.
It's a video game. It's developed by Seemingly Pointless, and I think it's still blocked on Steam. Maybe you have to be logged in or something. But it was it was very successful at festivals, and it was shown at like a bunch of places where you expect to find like the artsy indie games, and it was well received, and it was put on Steam, and then I don't remember the full story, but I know they get kicked off at least for a while.
Oh yeah, it's there. It's free. It's rated AO.
Ah.
Okay, cool. So they got it back on.
Yeah.
So if it dropped like 2016, that was that weird era where Steam was still enforcing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says release date September 28th, 2017.
How'd they manage AO? I didn't even know that was used.
Yeah, I don't know. It just got this warning thing. I'm looking at it in Steam. It's got this warning thing that says this game is marked as adults only. You are seeing this game because you have agreed to continue to this page.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it was funny. There was like
I think adults only would be the same thing as like a rated R movie, but they are not like 1-to-1.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like I've had this discussion before with like this Void. You guys know Void. I've had this discussion with him before where it was like it's like they should just make like AO like a standard rating, because a lot of M-rated games I still like. I don't mean to be like protect the kids kind of asshole like from the 90s, but I mean like there's some M-rated games where it's like I don't think even a 17-year-old is mature enough to play this. You know, like I know a lot of people were complaining like about Cyberpunk when it first launched. Aside from like all the bugs and stuff, they were complaining about how graphic the content is, and they were like, "Oh, there should have been content warnings." And it's like, well, that's what the rating is for.
Yeah, that's what a rating is. Everyone wants to get rid of the rating system, and then they want content warnings. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what that is.
Yeah, like it tells you, it tells you
box.
like what's,
Yeah.
it tells you on the box. Like it's not just like a letter. It tells you, like, right next to the letter, it's like, oh, it contains mentions of alcohol, excessive language, sexual content, violent content. You know,
because growing up, when I saw M on the box, I'm like, man, I'm not getting away with this. So like, it should just stop at the store. But a lot of times, people just were not versed in ratings. I will say even to this day, you know. And now that it's digital, I'm sure it's even harder to find the rating on there. Like it will say it will say the rating, but I know it does a breakdown of the actual content too. So I think like digital sales are probably like a little bit less obvious.
Some people are probably just not paying as much attention to the ESRB.
I think most parents probably just don't even care. I mean, it's a video game, right? Like, I think that I don't think most people reflect on how media affects them psychologically and how it affects their children. I think to a lot of people, it's just babysitting. And even if it's like an M-rated game, like I know a lot of young people who have played M-rated games and they just get them. And even at the store, I mean, and I don't think that as a society we've decided that entertainment is so potentially scarring that like most parents consider it.
Yeah, and who even knows? Like, I know people who were fine, who played Resident Evil when they were 10.
Yeah, I played Metal Gear Solid. That was rated M when I was like 10.
Yeah,
I knew people.
It's very tame. I think they just kind of like sometimes they just cover their ass with the M rating.
I knew some guys on Fort Knox who played GTA San Andreas when they were 10. They were assholes. That's different.
Yeah, like I would always go like to those kids' houses. I'm like, how the heck do you guys? How do you get your hands on this?
My favorite one is the classic story of like your guy, your friend at school who's like, yeah, I tricked my idiot mom into letting me buy into buying GTA for me because I said it was a racing game. You know,
what it's supposed to be Gran Turismo.
Confuse
the two growing up too.
Yeah.
It's funny because I remember back when I didn't really know what Fox News was. I remember like a Fox News video. You could probably still find this on YouTube, where Mass Effect came out, and they focused like only on like the stupid sex scene that's in there that shows like absolutely no nudity. It just shows that it happens. I'm just like, what is this game that's coming out teaching kids on how to have sex with aliens? It's disgusting.
Yeah, I remember like the second you mentioned Mass Effect and Fox News, I knew you were gonna bring up.
Yeah, like that was a popular era, and of course that one instance caused like video games and Mass Effect as a whole to be scrutinized when you have like 80 hours about everything else but sexual content.
They're just
focused on that one thing.
There was a weird moral panic that happened in the wake of 9/11 that kept going for a few years. Like, we became very desensitized to violence and hypersensitive about sexual content. So like, shows like 24 were considered like for the family. Well, you got like Jack Bauer like torturing terrorists and like electrocuting them. And, like this was like family friendly stuff, and like it kind of became like a like violence was just seen as like heroism or justice or something, and then there needed to be something to be outraged about. And as graphics were getting better, I think the moral panic really just turned to all like sexual content in games. And Mass Effect got the full brunt of that, and the hot coffee thing from
San Andreas.
Yeah. And then like what's weird is that like around like 2016 it started to like violence started to come back as like a thing that we need to demonize again. Like even like the White House put up that video about like video game violence that they privatized like in less than a day.
Everyone's trying to figure out the problem of why do young people commit violent acts, and we keep going, well, is it the fault of the tools? Is it the fault of the culture? Or is it the fault at an individual level? And, there's no answer to these questions. They're also big, and we're not equipped to have them on a national stage. So instead, politicians just signal the video games.
Yeah, I just like that we all have gotten into the habit of collectively rolling our eyes whenever they decide to try and blame video games. Like, I feel like it's holding less and less water each time it comes up.
Yeah, there was that.
Thankfully,
there was that trial with the guy where the prosecutor was like, oh, so you shot this guy, right? And he was like, yeah, because it was self-defense or whatever. I don't know the whole situation, so don't flame me in the comments. But he was saying that he was self-defense. He was like, well, I hear you play Call of Duty. Suspicious. And it's like, dude, come on.
It would be suspicious if he enlisted after playing Call of Duty.
Okay, yeah, I can see that argument.
Yeah, but I just love how it's some disease that you have the potential of catching anytime you play Call of Duty. Let's not forget that it's one of the best-selling gaming franchises of all time. So let's ignore the rest of the millions and millions of people that play it without any zombie turn shooter situation.
Yeah.
Call of Duty was another thing that was weird in the post 9/11 world, as I referenced what I said a couple seconds ago. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, every single person I knew who was playing that game was comparing it to being overseas and fighting in the Middle East, and it was just
so
this.
weird. That's
Yeah, it was a strange time to grow up, for sure.
Yeah, because on one end, movies talk about this stuff all the time, and we don't really scrutinize them. I'm sure at some point they were, but you can have literally a movie about any plot that happens during the war, or even this fictional setting where we lose the White House to some terrorists or whatever. But if it's in a video game, it's what are these kids playing?
Yeah.
And it's well, it's not really for kids. It has a mature rating, and then you go back to it's so easy for these kids to get their hands on it, and everyone ignores the parents' role in that.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you borrow it from someone at school, but you really should know what your kids are playing, number one, and what you're purchasing, number two.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt like that argument didn't hold much water to me back in the day.
Yeah, I think everyone should probably just know their kids better.
Yes.
Talk to your kids about the games they play and use it as a way to relate to them. And my sister's really great about that. She has 3 kids, and she can have conversations about Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey and Minecraft and relate to her kids that way, and she'll play with them sometimes, so she's not really big into games, but she approaches it in a good way where it's oh no, this is something my kid cares about, so I will engage with them and relate to them through it. And that's all you have to do, and then you can find out if your kid's playing something that's making them a weirdo. Go and check the DeviantArt for whatever thing they like, and if you get Sonic OC, then you have to send your kid away.
Carol, I think some of those people are my fan base.
Speaking of Sonic OC, do you want to show that thing to Mentok? Just if he promises not to expose it. This is something that will be in the update.
Oh, I think we showed it on the YIIK cord, so it's public enough.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but there's a. Okay, in that case, I'll just talk about it freely. Yeah, there's a Sonic parody enemy going to be in the new Y2K update.
Oh, exciting!
Yes,
I'm the Sonic guy, by the way. I'm 90% Sonic tuber.
He's got Sonic in his profile picture. If you see, it's him holding Sonic.
Oh yeah, I
nice.
saw that.
Yes.
Not caressing, just holding.
No offense to the Sonic community. You're all lovely people.
Don't lie to them. I tell them straight to their face that they're weird.
No, they're a bunch of filthy degenerates.
Sometimes I wonder how I got looped into this, because I'm just I'm a regular fan that does more research than necessary and then presents it back to the community. And then sometimes I'm just man, did I just grow up in the wrong group?
Legit.
I have a lot of pride for my fan.
Yeah. think my favorite interaction I've had with you men talking stupid like Sonic stuff is when like I found out that there were like alternate costumes. Oh yep, there he is.
Let's see. Oh.
Yes.
Oh, nice. I actually like this.
Yeah. Yes.
And he's supposed to be a mouse?
Yeah, he's a mouse. Like needle
That's
mouse.
a cool.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite like dumb interaction Mentok has had with like stupid Sonic stuff is when I found out that the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure 2 had alternate costumes for all the characters you play as in that game. And for Rouge the Bat, they had an outfit that was canonically called a Dominatrix outfit.
Oh my god.
So I fucking I told Mentok about that during a stream once when I was like in chat, and he was like, "Yeah, she kind of does look like that, doesn't she?" And I was like, "No, Mentok, that's an official costume they gave her in Sonic Adventure 2." And he like stopped what he was doing and looked it up, and he had just the biggest look of sheer disappointment in the human race on his face. Like it was just this collective like look of like, it's there, it's in front of me, and I don't like it.
She has like the boots and then like the leotard and
the mask.
What looks like a hood or mask over her head. Like it just fully fits her entire head.
Hilarious.
It's very what a weird choice. But the early 2000s was an interesting time.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people just make what they want to make, and they don't really think about like the implications of it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Like,
like this is a children's game for kids, and it's like, well, that's probably not how they're thinking about it, even if that's how it's marketed. Like if you look at so much old animation, like people always assume that animation is for kids, but older animation is definitely just the interests of the people who made it. It's it's weird, and that gets filtered in. And
are you talking specifically like the Looney Tunes era and stuff?
Yeah, and before that, and even older stuff. Like there was like a lot of just like crazy like anti-Semitic tropes and stuff like in early animation, and I don't want to call out any company specifically because I don't want to get it wrong, but the further you go back in animation, like there's some wild gags that you're like, there's no way that this joke was for the kid. This was definitely just for the animator.
Yeah, they started removing some of those. Like if you go to Hulu, which they have like all of the Looney Tunes there, you'll see like huge gaps in like episode numbers, and I'm like, huh. I wonder where you guys didn't post here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like even, which is weird because Warner Brothers has like the Band 13, which is like the horrible like racist animations that they did that were Looney Tunes, and those included like the original version of Elmer Fudd, who was like a stereotype, like a horribly racist depiction of a black man. Yeah, I
remember the really bad ones were also like the Asian stereotypes.
Oh yeah,
like, those were horrendous. And I've still like, I don't even think those are removed. Like I think those kind of stuck around intact. Like there's one where I think particularly Scooby-Doo, where they've there's like two ninja monsters or something like that, and they're in this like Chinese part of town, and it's just ridiculous. Everybody has like the stereotypical accent, and it's bad.
Yeah. It's weird how, like, you look
good
back...
Good old-fashioned family racism.
Yeah. I love how Disney Plus would put a warning on some of that stuff, like the older cartoons and all that.
Yeah.
Or movies. They're like, yeah,
see,
this is...
that's I don't get that whole thing entirely, because, like, obviously, like, by modern understandings, that stuff is wrong. Like, you wouldn't make that now, you know? But, like... At what degree do we have to warn people that they should be prepared to judge the past? Because like some of that stuff is pretty old, but like I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to defend it or anything. I just think that the putting a label on it and thinking that solves a problem, not really. If you think that the cartoon's gonna make someone racist, maybe just take the cartoon down. But like saying that it's a product of a different time, it's like I mean. Context clues. That's pretty self-evident by watching old shit. It feels old.
I mean, animate's better.
Yeah.
But yeah, quality's probably not there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's this fine line that they're trying to do with like preserving but also disassociating themselves from it, which
like, if they're gonna offer like in like a historic context, like I've definitely seen some historic like animation that is like downright just straight up racism. It's like, oh, this is a blackface cartoon. You know?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, even like some of like the early like Fleischer stuff is like.
There's even like a Dragon Ball character.
Oh yeah, Mr. Popo.
yeah, I think they did the same with Jinx. Like they actually like changed
Well,
her
the problem
color a
is
little
like
bit to
you know
avoid
Japan
Yeah.
like a lot of like artists saw the art that was coming out of America and it was blackface characters and they're probably like, oh, this is a cool design, I'm gonna keep doing this forever, and it's like no.
Yeah, they probably didn't know the context
Yeah.
behind it. I mean, like people only know the context behind it now.
Yeah.
And that's in the Western setting. So it's like it's hard to morally judge other cultures culturally appropriating our racist humor.
Especially when we put it out in the first place.
Yeah, 'cause
it's
what-
like, well, yeah, our country did do that.
when I was growing up, like they were showing a lot of reruns of Looney Tunes and stuff, but like they removed the obvious stuff, like the blackface stuff. I don't think was ever showing during the 90s or whatever. But there was like other stereotypes, like there was still the maid in Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember like watching like really early reruns of Tom and Jerry, and they had like the black lady maid who was like the owner of Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I didn't think anything of that. I thought she was the owner of the house, to be honest.
So did I. So did I, honestly.
So like a lot of that stuff still existed, right? They removed like we took all the racist stuff out, and then more time passes, and they realize, well, here's more stereotypes that should be taken out too.
Yeah,
So it's just like this gradual scrubbing.
Yeah, like when they air that, like those Tom and Jerry shorts now, they have her recolored to be white. Which I don't know if that really fixes the problem.
I haven't seen any of that stuff in a long time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's like I don't think that fixes it, but
just get rid of it. If like you got rid of everything else, just get rid of that one.
yeah. It's like, I mean, at least you're trying, but I don't know if you're really doing the best. Yeah.
That's why we need to make new stuff, and we need to
Yes.
abandon nostalgia, and we need to look at nostalgia like it's a disorder, and we need to run as far away from it and put a moratorium on nostalgia for like 100 years, and then in 200 years people can rediscover all the stuff that we're just going to abandon, and we go
You're just
post
describing
nostalgia.
You're just describing the message of YIIK, aren't you?
No, I don't think that's the. I think YIIK is more about echo chambers, but it uses nostalgia for the particular echo chamber. But
Okay.
I think that it's less of a critique of nostalgia itself, and more how an echo chamber can keep you in stasis.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I can totally
And
see.
the cope is nostalgia, but I'm not like, it's not bad to be nostalgic for things. Like nostalgia has a purpose. Like it's something that we've evolved to do. Like there's like a bunch of theories. Like we evolved nostalgia so that we can feel warm for like happy spring, because like our body temperature allegedly rises when we feel nostalgia. And I've heard a bunch of people try and explain where it comes from, but
Yeah.
there comes a certain point where if everyone who's creating media is just trying to recreate their childhood so that they can share the same stories that were important to them as kids with their kids, like J.J. Abrams making Star Wars stuff, and it's like you're just remaking the same stuff. Like let's just put all that Gen X nostalgia, boomer media, and let's just say this is going in the Disney vault. And we can talk about it in 100 years. And we all have to just do something different for 100 years. Otherwise, our taxes are
I
double.
like it.
Yeah.
I would love to see that just for the sheer culture shock. Like they just open up this vault and you start watching this and feel like, Jesus Christ, this
Man,
is
they
horrible.
made a fuck ton of Spider-Man movies. What the fuck?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, they rebooted
Yeah.
Batman again.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, like, I loved the new Spider-Man movie, but like, it was like a remember these movies you were 10 for, and also 14 for.
Yeah, I mean, like also, I mean, like even like that one scene, like don't get me wrong, I love this scene, but like it's very much like kind of like feels like it was thrown in there for like nostalgia bait or whatever. But like the scene where like all spoilers for the movie, by the way, if you made it this far, then whatever. Spoilers for the new Spider-Man movie. There's like a scene where like Peter Parker, like all the Peters. Why am I like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland are like all there, and they're talking about like.
Wait, who do they play?
Shut up.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Go on. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, they're all there, and they're talking about like villains that they've faced, and like Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire are like talking about like all that they've done, and then Andrew Garfield's over there like, man, compared to you guys, I suck, and like Tobey Maguire is like, no, you got some good points to you. You're not like terrible. Like, you're a pretty cool dude. In fact, I think you're awesome. And he's like, you know what? I'm really glad you said that. I've been having a lot of self-esteem issues lately, or whatever. Which is kind of like throwing the Amazing Spider-Man series like a bone, because a lot of people didn't like those movies, but they liked Andrew Garfield. Yeah. Which I thought, okay, that's cool. But it's also like very much nostalgia kind of.
They should have. You know what they should have done? They should have made up like a guy that Andrew Garfield fought that wasn't in any of the movies, just to like torture everyone.
They should have done that.
He didn't fight.
Yes.
Yeah. That'd have been based.
Yeah. Oh god, that would have been awesome if they like if they just made up like that he fought like Carnage or something. I don't know. He's like. Yeah, he's like he was like all red. He's kind of like that black alien you were talking about there, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
Yeah, they just like describe the sickest movie ever that you can't see.
Yeah. Yes.
I think they just had only so much time to write so many jokes like that.
Yeah.
I think
I'm sure they had to be selective.
Yeah. Done the Spider-Verse characters as well and had the animated elements.
Yeah. The Raimi cut, yes. Oh man.
Well, Robin, we're a little past an hour now.
It's okay.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah. Anything you guys want to add?
No, not really. Just the Raimi cut.
Just the Raimi cut. Also, since we're talking about cuts before that, there's 2 cuts I want released. In no particular order. I want the Demon Sonic cut, so the original model. That needs to be released for the world for the first movie. And then the Cats cut, complete with buttholes.
I don't want either of those things.
We just need... we need to... I'm not going to consume them. I just need them out into the public for public...
No, Mentok. You're a Sonic channel. You have to cover the Demon Sonic.
Is that what they're calling
I would have to review it, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's what we call it now, because it's just like that works too. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Andrew? I know you were kind of cut off a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
I don't remember.
Damn.
That's the worst.
It's okay.
I've committed the original podcast sin.
No, don't sweat it.
Don't get into original sin talk with Andrew. Oh man. All right. Well, if you guys got nothing else to add, then I will take us home, as Mentok likes to say.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem. It's been good having you. We hope to see you again in the future. And we hope you guys do well.
Well, thank you.
Game and all that.
Would love to have you both back, and hopefully after the release, we can talk more about it, and of course just random banter, because I think we're into the same stuff overall, so it works out.
Yeah. I also think it would be really cool to hear the perspective of someone who hadn't played 1.0 and then plays all the additions to the game, because it's going to mean two different things for someone who's played 1.0 versus someone who's playing 1.5 as like the first proper exposure to it. So
I'm like,
that'll be
perfect
curious
experiment.
For me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. That is going to be it for today's episode 22 of podcast. We had a good time. We went a little bit over, but that's all right. That's just how we roll sometimes. We will see you all later. Thank you once again, Andrew and Brian, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Peace.